Drama therapy. It's therapy that uses role play to help people work through difficult or challenging situations.
Well, like therapy, good drama encourages us to look inside. It helps us to understand our own behaviour and deal with emotional issues.
In fact, Simon was telling me earlier that Aristotle coined the term catharsis to describe the healing we experience through drama.
Hubris, nemesis, catharsis.
Well, it's all Greek to me. Thought I'd do the joke this time, seeing as Simon was being a bit serious.
But what kind of problems does drama therapy help to confront?
It's very versatile. Marital strife, workplace disagreements, psychological trauma. Drama therapy is not always easy. It can be very challenging and sometimes tearful, but it should always feel welcoming.
I think you just described the pub quiz I go to. You see, you should be saying this. Catharsis.
Now, I believe we're going to see some drama therapy in action.
That's right, Jenny. Over here we have two actors, Daniel and Louise. And in a typical therapy situation, they would play out scenarios that couples can try themselves.
Right.
Now, in this scenario, Louise thinks that Daniel is emotionally closed off, but Daniel feels that as he's getting older, he does need more space. Guys?
And you wonder why we never resolve anything. It's because we argue, and then 5 minutes later, you get upset and I have to back down.
No one's saying you have to.
But that's what happens when you play that card.
It's not a card, Daniel. It's how I feel. Just because you're a closed book doesn't mean I have to be.
What am I supposed to say to that?
You should tell her that... Sorry, that's...
No, that's fine. Do you want to jump in?
Oh, me? God, no.
Yeah, no, please do. Step in for Daniel.
No, it's just... I've not acted for quite a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hadn't realised you'd acted.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just with North Norfolk players, a bit of acting, producing, directing. Most recently, A Few Good Men.
Oh,
so,
amazing. What part did you play?
The Jack Nicholson role, so
Ooh.
yeah, a bit of a tough act to follow, but I just tried to do it sort of, you know, like the truth. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, so I sort of went higher, and then I did the scoff at the end, which I don't think Nicholson thought of, so...
Well, how would you feel about having a go at this scene?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Oh, great. OK, Daniel, you step out. Louise, you're in the kitchen, you're making dinner. And Alan, start a conversation when you're ready.
OK.
Don't overthink it.
OK, yep, right. Smells good.
It's just spag bowl.
I didn't mean the dinner.
Well, you never normally come in till it's cold. I'm sorry to go on. I just don't want you to feel like I'm complaining because I want to spend time with you.
Hey, baby girl. Just been out on my bike. My motorcycling's important to me. You know that. But you know the best part of the journey? Riding that steel horse back home to you.
Try it without the accent.
Me or her?
You.
OK, but the general direction...
Forget all that. Both of you sit at the table.
OK.
Now, let's just pretend that she's your actual wife.
Yeah. Look, I wish I could spend more time with you.
See, I hear you saying that, but I don't feel it.
Then we'll figure something out, but you're going to have to stop going on at me. I'm sorry if I've got a gift that people enjoy and I find very satisfying. I'm sorry that you don't have that because for some reason God didn't give you any talent.
Shall we stop there?
Yeah, that felt good. We are so, with several O's, excited to be here with fashionista extraordinaire Tommy Chaucer. Tommy.
Hey, and excited is right, because today is all about the skirt. After 2 years of heavy tailoring with all manners of trouser, baby, the skirt is back.
OK.
So cop a feel of these. Now, our first skirt is a circle skirt, modelled by the beautiful Kirsty.
Hello.
Just £65.
She can't be. Oh, you mean the price?
And it's a skirt that's an expression of joy. It's summertime, it's good times, it's light, it's airy, and it's fun.
It's a happy skirt,
Yes.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
very elated.
It's over the moon.
It is. It's chuffed to bits.
Can't wipe the smile off its
No,
face.
it's billowy.
Like a windsock.
Like a windsock.
Is it?
Or like a tent.
Yes,
Or,
a marquee, wedding marquee,
like
maybe?
a big wedding marquee that's not been moored properly.
That's right. And you can see exactly what the skirt does for Kirsty's posture, the way she walks, the way she holds herself. And wow, Kirsty owns it.
Really? Oh, well, thank you for bringing it in, Kirsty.
I mean, she makes it work for her.
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, Simon,
Yes.
say something.
It's got a beautiful silhouette.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
it is a great shape. It really is.
I would also add that it's comfortable, modest, and good for Sunday best. Useless.
And it's got 2 poppers, so you can adjust it if you do change in size or once a month, possibly.
Because when a woman enters the menstrual stage of a feminine cycle, she will swell around the tummy.
So let's bring out our next gorgeous girl, Julia.
Julia!
Now, this is a Dirndl skirt.
Now, this I love.
It's shaped like a bell, concentrated around the waist, around the hips, and this one is very on trend.
It is like a stripy bell with her legs as the hammer. Feel the fabric, Simon, then talk about it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Have a feel.
Feel the fabric.
Oh. Yeah. Decent.
Yeah?
Exactly, and it's
Decent bit of skirt. So, no, sorry, I take that back.
Well, it's saying Dolce Vita, Roman holiday.
It is, it's saying...
Molto bene!
Molto bene!
Molto bene!
Molto bene! Not that loud, but, you know... There's no getting away from it, Tommy. Sometimes Simon and I can be outrageous, really can. Let's look at another woman in a skirt.
Our next skirt is modelled by the lovely Louisa.
Oh, very curvy stripes, like she's been squeezed out of a giant tube of Colgate lady paste.
And we've paired the skirt with daring red shoes that really draw the eye. And it says, I'm on the town, it says, I mean business. It says, I'm comfortable, but I'm nobody's fool.
Yeah, it's saying, I'm a whirling dervish. Yes, I like to go to the office, but sometimes I like to sit on a park bench with Ryvita and Philadelphia looking sad. But it's also saying, I'm happy, I like to leap in the air and sing, whoa, body form. That's, yeah.
It never bloody shuts up, this
Yeah,
skirt.
well,
What are you
it
talking about?
is a stripy chatterbox.
It is skirt.
It's a magnificent skirt.
Tommy, join me at the lady. I think this look works for Julia, but I can also see her perhaps with her hair up.
Totally. Excuse me,
like
my
this.
darling.
Thank you, darling. Maybe a shocking pink clutch bag, sleeves pushed up, LA Law style.
Totally. Hair up, daytime casual, hair down, one word, accessorise. Wrist, neck, ears.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes.
No.
Nails, lots of colour, accessories where you can really let your hair down.
Yeah, although I've just told you to put it up to me. She's smiling. Earrings, maybe a couple of big hoops. Just toss your head back and shake it around, let them clank against your neck.
Thanks, Louisa.
Thanks, sweetheart. That was sensational. I was slightly hyperventilating then. Used to lead to lead to panic attacks. Jesus, not now. Whew.
What were you getting?
A panic attack. Oh no, the bouquet. Well, I'm not. It's been a while since I've used, wine words.
Oh, well, people use all sorts of words to describe wine. I mean, vanilla, melon, straw.
Surely only livestock know what straw tastes like.
It's just a hint.
Yeah, it's just a hint.
And with red wines.
Yeah, wines have hints. No.
Have a go, Alan. What did you get from that?
Pepper.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
It is peppery.
Yeah. No, that is a very that's a very peppery wine. Lots of pepper. Lots of pepper. Yeah. I didn't even have to think of it. As soon as it brought to my nose, bang, pepper. So yeah, no, amazing.
Well, you've got a good nose. So.
Like you. What's next? That's a very now that's very familiar. Yes. Now that's what is it?
Currants.
No. It's very specific.
Well, it's musky, so
No.
it's
No, it's
Berries?
No, Rosie, that's wrong.
Sorry. Cherry. Cinnamon?
No. This wine tastes of chewits.
Oh. Oh, well, I've never heard
Have we got any chewits?
Now, this Chardonnay from Devon is exceptionally well balanced.
Rosie, it's great. They're all great. Fantastic.
Nicely fruity with a long finish.
Yeah, it's. What does that mean?
Well, it
Long
means
finish.
it means the taste lingers on the palate.
It does. It does. It lingers on the palate. Absolutely.
Like a lazy forklift truck driver. He would linger on the palate.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Keep talking.
Well, so it lingers on the palate, and the taste, therefore, will. Oh,
Sorry,
you all right?
Yeah, that's just this thing.
Oh.
Here. There we go.
Just.
No problem. Just go on. So what are you saying?
So is that taste lingering for you?
Yeah, I can still taste it. Definitely, yeah, still there.
Well, you will for some time.
Yeah, it's got a still there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't wait till the flavour goes before we carry on the conversation, because it's because it's a long finish. It will be there for some time. No, it's gone. Cheers.
So cheers. Anyway, which of the wines did you like best, Alan? I'm curious to know.
Which is the most? What are the prices individually? Bottle to bottle.
Right. Well, this one here, this is £6. This is £8.95, and this one's quite pricey. It comes in at £12.
That one is the one I think had the best flavour. Oh, Ruth, sorry again for the misunderstanding with your father.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, it's just that I had not seen him in the studio before, and the reason I said I thought I told you to wait in the car was because I mistook him for my Uber driver. I don't know if you know, but the picture they show on the app, it's quite small.
To be honest, I quite enjoyed watching you squirm.
Hi, Ruth.
She never gives me a bloody inch, this one.
Going live in 5, 4.
Welcome back.
Now, as part of our crackdown on crime season, today we're looking at punishment. Yesterday, we heard your views on the return of flogging. But today, is mass imprisonment still good policy? Ruth Duggan joins us to tell us about a very different approach.
That's right, Jenny, because for the last 24 hours, Alan has been wearing an electronic tag. Voluntarily, I should add.
Yes, you should, if you don't mind.
Sorry, wouldn't want to cast you in a bad light.
Yeah, don't do that, we'll get letters.
Yeah, seriously, some people just don't like it.
So, Ruth, tell us about the tag. How does it work?
So tags allow probation services to monitor compliance with home detention curfews.
Essentially, if you aren't home when you're meant to be, it raises the alarm.
Not quite right.
OK.
The latest tags, like the one you wore, monitor all of an offender's movements 24/7 using GPS.
Right, I see. I thought you told me...
Allowing us to track all their movements in real time or call up anywhere they've been over the last 24 hours.
Wow.
Right. Something civil liberties groups might well take issue with.
Yes. So this is your movement map for the 24 hours that you wore it.
OK.
And we can see that you made a few excursions during the day, starting with a trip to a swimming pool between 10 and 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Put in a few lengths.
Well, we know from the pool's website that it was water aerobics from 10 till 11.
Yes, this week I did do that.
Then there was a visit to Svensson Cosmetic Solutions. Is that a clinic? You were there for an hour just after 2 p.m.
No idea.
Well, we know you were.
No idea.
But it was you who went there. You don't remember?
Nothing.
It was yesterday, Alan.
That's something a probation officer might flag.
Hair clinic?
Likewise, your next stop, a visit to a clothes shop.
Ah, yes. McGovern's of Norwich, Gentlemen's Outfitters. They made me a pair of twill pleated notchback trousers for the Goodwood Revival Festival, which I needed to get fitted with an elastic waist. I'm afraid when it comes to my battle with my waistline, I'm waving the white flag. Not too self-conscious to admit that, you know, which proves I wasn't trying to conceal anything earlier.
You went back and forth to the Gents Outfitters 16 times.
That's correct.
Which, again, a probation officer would query as it might imply illicit activity.
Or even indicate mental health issues.
Could do. I mean, I do 10 Sudokus a week, but yeah, could do.
Well, you can see how it looks odd.
Not really. I went to town to drop my trousers off, then it started raining, so I ran home, then I remembered I'd driven into town, so I ran back to the car park for my car, but realised I'd left my parking ticket at home. So I went back home to get my parking ticket, but couldn't get in because I left my house keys in the car. So I walked back to the car, got the house keys, walked back home, went in, got the parking ticket, walked back into town for the car and drove it back home. Then McGovern's called to say my trousers were ready. So drove back into town, got the trousers, but I realised I'd left my wallet at home, so I couldn't leave the car park again. Walked home, got my wallet, then walked back to get my car, but I left my car keys at home, so then I walked back to the car and drove home. Then I realised McGovern's had given me the wrong trousers, so I drove back to town, swapped them for the right ones before walking home.
That means you left your car.
Forget the car, I'm not bothered about the car, I was in pain, my scalp was bleeding.
Ruth Duggan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, mention our American cousins, and most people think weaponry, donuts, racism, and brown paper shopping bags with no handles. What's all that about?
Oh dear, I thought you were having a stroke there. But there's much more to America than that. Time for New SA, our first regular update on the state of the states. We're joined by our very own Ruth Duggan for a segment as American as Mum's apple pie.
Well, you were having
and
a stroke.
who doesn't love Mum's apple pie?
Well, sure I would. I've not met your mum, but I imagine a kind of Nanette Newman type, crimping crusts and cutting out love hearts from excess pastry to plonk on the top of the pie lid.
Something like that. What about your mum's?
Well, I love my mum, but I have to say she made bad pies. And even though she loved me, she managed to make a pie without putting any love into it whatsoever. So, yeah, just, chopped apples, pastry, lots of brown sugar, but, as I say, no love. But Ruth, I bet you loved your mum's apple pie. First up, police raid a house in Cleveland and find 4 dead men in a septic tank. Not the kind of story anyone likes.
I do, actually. I love anything like that.
Right.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, right, you mean the apple pie. And the same, though, Ruth. All the pastry turns into a fat back.
Well, quite. It's been described as a truly gruesome sight.
What?
A vision of hell. Dismembered limbs from as many
right,
as...
I think you've got a bit of delay on the line.
A bit of a delay on the line.
Copycat.
So I'll just try and soldier on as best... Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
It's all right. I was just saying the same thing as you said.
I should just try and push on and assume that you can hear... Yep, go ahead, Alan.
No, you go ahead.
Shall
you
I
go
continue?
ahead.
So
you
I'll
go
try-
ahead.
I didn't
You
quite
go
catch-
ahead. It's like trying to have a chat on a webcam with someone in the Philippines. Or bloody anywhere in the world.
Yes. Sorry, after you.
Ruth, stop talking. We're starting again. Nod when you get this. Now, Ruth, hello.
Hello.
Good. Do you like your mum's apple pie?
Yes.
And I believe the police have found the remains of 4 dead men in a house in Cleveland.
Yes, that's right.
Well, tell us about it and give us a long answer so we don't have to keep going back and forth.
Now?
Yes, now. I should knock on the side of your box.
Well,
Ignore
as
the
I said,
box thing.
it's a grisly discovery. And while the identities of the men haven't been... Sorry, the side of my box? The owner of the house has been named locally as 51-year-old Brian Crilly, now the subject of a full-scale manhunt.
Well, Ruth, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jenny.
Let you go and enjoy the sunshine.
Too hot for me, I'm afraid.
You back with us next week?
The week after.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Ruth Duggan there, and apologies if there were any technical glitches. I think we got it sorted out in the end.
The alphabet from A to Z, it's Alan and Zoe.
But mainly Alan. You listen to Mid-Morning Matters with Alan Partridge and my little pocket ray of sunshine, Zoe Scott.
Speaking of sunshine, Alan, have you treated yourself to a sunbed last night?
No?
What about a spray tan?
Don't think so.
Morning, everyone. You're listening to MMM with ZS and AP or ZAP.
You've got such a lovely, engaging way with people. You really have. Seriously, it really is very commendable.
Thank you.
OK,
So, coming up,
today's...
we've got-
You and a... Do you know what? We are like an old married couple.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll be bickering all the time. You know, you'll be drinking too much.
Hey, yeah, and then you'll get jealous of my career and run off with a fitness instructor. No thanks. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Well, she got the T-shirt. Got the shirt off my back, really did. Fucking witch.
Well, I just found that when she strayed from historical fact into the realms of conjecture, I was all too aware of the author's hand, you know, and that took me out of the story. Apart from that, I thought it was a very good first effort.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm a little surprised, Crispin. I found that Mantle's main characters are scorchingly well rendered. And the sharp-clawed machinations are presented with non-stop verve in a book that can compress a wealth of incisiveness into a very few well-chosen words.
That's just word for word what it says on the back of the book.
That's my book of the week. That's Hilary Mantle's Wolf Hall. Oh, can't wait to get my teeth into that. It sounds great. Oh, do you know what? If I'd known you were going to wear this kind of pink... I mean, I know enough about colours to know this pink clashes with that pink. Correct?
Not clash. It's just not quite the same.
This is raspberry, definitely.
Yeah.
How would you describe that?
I would say that's like strawberries and cream.
It is like it's like iced strawberry. It's like a strawberry milkshake.
Yes, it is.
I would drink you dry. I would drink you dry.
Very good.
I'm down to your boots.
Oh, God. Okay.
Can I have another? Oh. I'm still thirsty.
Alan, you do really remind me of my dad. You know, you'd really like him.
Well, I love dads. I am a dad. I've got a dad. Well, I had a dad.
Oh, what was he like?
What was he like, my dad? I remember one birthday he bought me this big red cake in the shape of...
Space rocket?
No.
Train?
No.
Football?
No, it was a rectangle. And I remember he came up and said, "Delivery for Mr. Partridge." Oh. I was so excited. I banged into the table and, oops, the cake went everywhere. Oh. My dad walked up to me in his blue 60s drainpipe suit with a red bow tie he insisted on wearing, and he said, "You will never amount to anything." He said, "You're that to me." Imagine saying that to a 7-year-old kid.
Alan, that's terrible.
That's not the end of the story, because as he turned round to storm off, he slipped on the cake, legs went flying, banged his head, and he needed 11 stitches. And I was glad. This is a little itty-bitty of Scritty-Pilitty.
Now, this one, it's called White Diamond. Ooh. Perhaps another one of Kirsty Allsop's bridesmaids.
Did you have a drink before you came on?
It's champagne, lime cordial, big slug of Cointreau, white grape juice, and egg white.
Like poached egg?
Oh, no, it's raw.
For God's sake, Rosie.
What?
You can't eat raw egg. It's a raw egg,
No,
Rosie.
it's a common ingredient.
Sorry, just a disclaimer. Please don't try this at home. Rosie's attempted it here, but in controlled conditions with first aiders on hand. Please cook your eggs. Be safe. Be egg safe.
Rosie, let me pick your brain, because me and my mum, we always go to Queen's for the tennis.
Like this one.
The first cocktail afternoon of the summer. What would you make for that?
It'd have to be a rosemary champagne fizz. So gin, grapefruit and champagne. It's English, it's fun, it's summer.
Those are the new cocktails, but what about the classics? Rosie, what do you think is the most popular cocktail in Britain?
Espresso martini.
Alan, what do you think?
Mine's gone blank. Shandy.
Well, we hit the streets of Nottingham to find out which came out on top.
And we're off.
That was great.
Oh, really, it's okay.
Smells of stuffing. Oh, it's you.
Just to say, I've looked into the annual reports, and it turns out Jenny earns slightly more than you.
Okay.
It's to do with the way the deal is structured. It's an accounting quirk.
Okay.
It's only about £200, but it just means she's higher than you in the list of the BBC's best paid presenters.
Okay.
You okay?
Okay, I'm okay.
So you're in a bit of a pickle. You want more, but you don't want to complain because women have got a bit big for their boots.
Yeah, all right, Lynn, that's for the car, but thanks for the intel. Have a white sparkle.
Okay, places, people.
You like egg, don't you?
And we're back in 5, 4,
So there we have it. The mojito is Britain's favourite cocktail. And Rosie, you're making us one to end the show.
I am. Now, the secret to a good mojito is not to overdo the mint. So, it's lime juice, sugar, a little mint, they're already in the shaker.
Go on, make it then.
And, yes, a handful of ice and a good slug of rum.
Oh, I love rum.
And then you give it a good shake.
Stop looking at me.
Certainly gave that what for.
Would you like to have a go,
No,
Alan?
not me. I never know where to look when I do that sort of thing. It requires a certain kind of confidence that, for whatever reason, I don't have. That's why I don't play the maracas. Give it here. All right.
Stiff.
It's loosening.
Very stiff.
Have you got it?
All right.
Okay. Take me, take it. I don't know why I did that.
Rosie, thank you very much for joining us. That was great.
It was great. It was really great. What are you doing with my jacket? Sorry for bollocking you before about the raw egg thing. But don't do that again.
Oh, and I believe Simon has an email. Simon.
Alan, we're back on.
With respect, Councillor, I think our listeners will be more concerned about cuts to public services.
Well, absolutely, Terry, and that's why we've set out proposals to ensure...
Let me take it from here. Throw me the ball. Councillor, you talk a good game. I caught it, by the way. But I have figures that show that you plan to cut public spending.
Are you talking about the raw figures or the figures adjusted for inflation?
Yes.
Well, the first or the second?
The first.
Well,
God's sake.
In that case, that's wrong, because if you look at the figures, the actual spend has remained the same as last year, see?
Yeah. No, I understand it. I'm just checking it.
Well, it's there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Another area where we've seen a great deal of public anger is in council housing. Now, what is the proposal here?
I meant the second. Sorry, I meant the second one. When you gave me the choice before, I meant the second choice where the figures are adjusted for inflation.
Well, Alan, we've made no secret of the fact that we're not going to keep pace with inflation. In fact, it's one of the few issues that we have cross-party agreement on, so...
Right.
We've made no secret of the fact that we're going to have to make...
Bus fares.
I'm sorry?
Bus fares. Have you not put up bus fares?
As we said in our manifesto, we won't be putting up bus fares in any...
Have you put up bus fares?
Not in real terms.
Have you put up bus fares?
In line with inflation, we have had to keep pace...
Yes or no? Have you put up bus fares?
In our manifesto...
Have you put up bus fares?
We've only put up bus fares.
Have you put up bus fares?
Yes, but only
yes,
in as
but
much...
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you want to see that interview back online and see me getting a politician to admit something slightly different from what they said earlier and then saying, look, you said something slightly different from what you said earlier. And so 1-0.
It's 10 a.m.
It's just after 10 a.m. You have been listening to Alan Partridge with special guest Tory Bronwyn Matthews.
Tory Councillor Bronwyn Matthews.
Yeah, her, and what's your name?
Terry Cohen.
Terry Cohen. Get well soon to Eddie Shepherd, who I'm sure will get well very soon. That's rhetoric, not a prognosis. Right now, you're listening to Mid-Morning Matters with Alan Partridge. See ya.
Take a cup of personality, pour in some chat, and drink up some good company. i.e. Mid-Morning Matters with Alan Partridge.
Good evening, morning, afternoon. Who cares? Who gives a flying monkey? Because today we're talking about things you don't see much of anymore. Already we have capes, tinned meat, Horlicks, sparrows, hula hoops, the crisps, not the toy, hula hoops, the toy, not the crisp, swimming pools with deep ends, and asbestos. We'll be asking, should we bring some and or all of them back? So do please text, Twitter, spam, fax, page, right, and...
To help us look at the discipline of yesteryear, we sent Alan back to his old school.
I must warn you that this film contains teachers some viewers may find disturbing. This is St Jude's High School, a secondary specialising in the performing arts and media studies. But back in the 1970s, it was an actual school, and I was a pupil here. Today, the corridors of St Jude's are alive with the sound of laughter and play. Back then, however, the school echoed with an altogether different noise. The noise of corporal punishment. Thrashings were the order of the day back then. The only ways to avoid a walloping, keep out of trouble, or get homeschooled like Dominic Bentham. Although I think he ended up killing himself in his 40s. Alas, for those of us schooled in the classroom, the finger of blame didn't always land on the guilty.
Partridge! What is that? Bring it here. And stop gawping, for crying out loud.
Ordinarily, I'd see a boy taking the long walk to the teacher's desk and think he was being disruptive. Go on, sir, batter him. But on this occasion, that boy was me.
What is it?
It's a picture of you, sir, with a penis where your nose should be.
Is that what you think I look like?
It wasn't me, sir. It was Smithy. He's from a broken home.
Something changed in me that day. I had walked to school a boy.
Now sit down, you lemon.
But I returned home a big boy. Fortunately, what the psychotic teachers of the 1970s lacked in self-control, they also lacked in technique. Inexperienced teachers would often opt for a one-handed stroke with little backlift and a short follow-through. But swing analysis from my squash coach reveals this to be both ineffective and inaccurate. With little rotation of the hips, the backswing ends here, which means the maximum arc of the swing is shortened, and an unsteady stance means energy dissipates as the swing is completed. But what would happen with a firmer base and a longer backlift? In this case, the swing stops here. Look at the line from the shoulder all the way down to the knee. The wider stance creates stability so that energy can be transferred from the standing leg all the way to the front knee. And with the hips rotated right round, the striker is like a coiled spring. If we play on, watch now how all of that force is driven down through the arc of the swing, picking up speed, as the front knee bears all the weight, and then pow! The striker hits through the target, continuing to rotate the hips until he ends up in a finishing pose that is the mirror image of the backlift. Impressive. Eventually, corporal punishment was subject to a blanket ban, except in emergencies. But the memories remain. Sore heads, swollen knuckles, rosy red bum cheeks. Sounds funny. Don't feel funny. So rare birds' eggs are being scrambled for Russian oligarchs, and Bill Oddie goes apeshit. He shows up at Claridge's wearing his Twitcher's jerkin, and the pockets are full of every conceivable explosive.
I got the picture.
He walks in to the buffet area, the breakfast buffet. People turn round. They say, "Isn't that the man from Springwatch?" Someone else says, "Wasn't he once one of the goodies?" "Yeah, not anymore. Now he's a baddie." Seconds later, carnage. Oddie is like a bearded Catherine wheel scything through the crowd. Ironically, the oligarchs wearing the leather jackets are protected from the worst of the blast, but an innocent couple from the northeast on a city break are vaporised.
Sorry, are you asking me a specific question?
Yes.
And that question is if an RSPB neo-fundamentalist was radicalised Oddie sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
The rest of them holed up in Wookiee Hole and I was sent to neutralise the threat.
Yeah.
How would I proceed?
Simples.
Really want to know?
Yeah, let's hear it. Hand-to-hand combat, commando style.
Do you mind if I stand up?
No, please.
Take the floor.
Take the floor. The floor is yours. You have the floor.
So, in Special Forces, we're given licence to use bespoke techniques, improvised weaponry, that sort of thing. My favourite for hand-to-hand combat is this brass knuckle, which I've adapted. I've stuck a protruding blade on one side, very sharp. What I would do is, when I'd attack the first insurgent, punch him full in the face as hard as I could until I felt a splinter of bone, that his nose was truly shattered. And then, as he's toppling backwards, grab hold of him with your right hand and bring my hand back with the blade like an arc across his throat, severing one or preferably both of the carotid arteries. You've got to be careful here because you've got to avoid the squirt of the jet of blood because, you don't want to be blinded moving on to the next fella. It's quite weird, this, actually, because if you get it right, the neck opens up completely, yawns back like a Muppet's mouth.
Oh, my God.
So then you let them drop, take care not to trip over them. I've seen that happen. And then you repeat and adapt, 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 until the cave is clear. It's very bloody, but it's quick and it's quiet, and that's why I like it. Any questions?
No.
Yeah, which Muppet?
You rejoin us on Mid-Morning Matters. Tommy Gaskell, survival expert, still with us. And on line 2, we have Sophie. Sophie, what's your tongue twister?
Did that man hurt the Muppet?
No, love, he didn't hurt any Muppets. He simply dispatched some terrorists from a radicalised RSPB in Wookiee Hole. It was simply that when he slit the throats of the bad people, they resembled the mouths of Muppets. Hope that answers.
Did they get better?
Did they get better?
We cleared the cave.
No one survived, Sophie. He cleared the cave.
And when the man hurt the other men, did the man feel bad?
Did you feel bad?
It's my job.
No, he didn't feel bad, Sophie. Why are clean hands important? Because humans are the most effective incubators of bacteria outside of imported meat. A fact first discovered 150 years ago in Soho, when its filthy reputation was based not on pole dancers from Lapland or lap dancers from Poland, but because of an outbreak of cholera. Imagine going into a newsagent and ordering not a can of Coca-Cola, but a can of Coca-Cola. That's effectively what the Soho residents were doing in 1854 when they came to draw water from this pump to sate, slake, or quench their thirst. That was before the physician John Snow discovered that the disease was spread through contaminated water. And this paved the way for the invention of antibiotics, a remedy against bacteria that initially seemed infallible. I said initially slightly louder because whilst antibiotics once stopped bacteria like these from breeding like randy Catholic rabbits, their prophylactic power has become dulled through overuse. Many liken antibiotics to giving a box of chocolates to an angry spouse. The first time, the chocolates will overwhelm the wife and quell her ire completely. The 6th, 7th time, the chocolates still subdue the miffed woman, but less than they had earlier. And by the 20th time, the chocolates have little to no potency and can even inflame the problem further. I was troubled by this. I knew more than ever before that we needed to wash our hands. But were we doing? To find out for myself, I've come to the gents' toilets at the BBC to conduct a study of my own. Hello, Alan Partridge, BBC. Did you wash your hands?
Yep.
Good man. I've concentrated exclusively on the gents' loos. A man standing outside a women's lavatory can be seen as predatory. Equally, a man loitering outside a gentleman's toilet can be fraught with ambiguity. So, to put it on a more formal footing, I've got this woman with a clipboard. Sorry, what's your name?
Thera.
Sarah.
Thera.
Sarah.
Thera.
Okay. The BBC employs some 20,000 people. Just write that down. And not all of them are going to wash their hands. Right, it is Thera. I thought you had a lisp.
No, it's Arabic.
Okay. Menial workers, for example, are employed to pick up bits of dirt, and the likelihood of them ever being asked to shake hands with senior management are very low. Put him down as a no. Still, the results made for grim reading, with just 28% saying they washed their hands. Yeah, I'm going to wash my own hands later. Swindon. And I've come to the British School of Hygiene to ask Professor Jean Chowdhury how clean hands can stop the spread of germs. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Hi. Jean, hand washing. How often should we be washing them?
Well, anytime we come into contact with bacteria. So, after going to the toilet.
Agreed.
After handling raw meat.
Right, and that's separate, isn't it? That's not a euphemism for the first one.
No. Raw meat can harbour some pretty nasty bacteria. So, if in doubt, wash. And the advice from the World Health Organization is that we should be washing our hands for a full 20 seconds.
15's fine.
Which is why there's actually an instructional video which shows exactly how to wash your hands.
Yes, please.
So we begin by rubbing the palms together, work up a nice creamy lather.
That's very creamy hands.
And then you rub the back of your left hand with the right palm with interlaced fingers.
Yeah.
And same with the other hand.
Yeah.
And rinse with warm water.
Yeah. Those taps are the same as the ones over there.
Oh, yeah, we shot it here.
Well, so those your hands?
Mm-hmm.
And here is the woman herself to tell us more about her new series that shines a light on women in science. It's writer and broadcaster Dee Gilhooly.
Just to clarify, by the way, some viewers may mistakenly think that your second name is Hooley and your first name is Deagle. In actual fact, your second name is Gilhooly, your first name is Dee. That's a full name, not an initial.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Wicked to be here.
Cool.
So you're perhaps best known as one of the regulars on Radio 4's Woman's Hour.
Which, by the way, guys, well worth a listen.
Oh, I wouldn't have had you down as a fan, Alan.
Well, it's a curious story. I was actually stuck in traffic and Classic FM were playing music from an advert which I dislike. So I found myself listening to Woman's Hour and I thought, this is actually good.
Tell your friends.
I did. I told 10 men and they will tell 10 men and they will tell 10 men to tell 10 men to tell 10 men. It sounds like the kind of song you'd sing on a coach trip, but it's actually true.
Now, your radio series focuses on trailblazers and groundbreakers in the field of science.
Bang on, yeah. It's a chance for some brilliant, lesser-known women to have their stories told, you know what I mean? So, with all due respect to your Ada Lovelaces or Rosalind Franklins, we're going to be looking at women under the bonnet, as it were, the fuel in the turbocharger.
Because there's some fascinating women here. We're talking Vera Rubin, Nettie Stevens, Cecilia Payne. I mean, brilliant women.
Oh, kick-ass women. Yeah, Cecilia Payne's actually is an amazing story. A British astronomer, got her doctorate at 25, boom. And she wrote a paper on the composition of the stars, but was persuaded not to publish it by her colleague Henry Norris Russell. Years later, her findings were published and credited to, you've guessed it,
Henry Norris Russell?
Bingo. You still with us, Alan?
Yeah. See, I'm sorry to... Actually, it makes me physically sick to say this, but I was miles away. Which shows this is a real problem within men, isn't it? What I will say, the purposes of clarification, is you don't put fuel in a turbocharger. It's a small turbine housed within the exhaust that utilises excess gases, loops them back round, increases power output. So small capacity engine, big hike in power, very efficient. That was told to me by an engineer in oily overalls called Karen. Woman.
Fair play. Yeah. Well, because women in jobs like that have to put up with their fair share of jeering, you know, even now in 2018, and they just have to accept it.
If I can just speak as a male, I'm sorry, I have sinned. I've stood on the pavement with other men and slow hand clapped as I watched a woman try to parallel park. And that's wrong. And I think if I saw the same thing happen today, I would just, shout out instructions.
Or just leave her alone.
Yeah, I'd shout out instructions or just leave her alone. I'd ask her which she prefers.
Or just leave her alone.
Or just leave her alone.
These issues need to be aired by women. We're still seeing powerful men harassing women when all they want to do is do their jobs and be left alone.
Amen.
Hey, women. I mean, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I wouldn't do that unless I was your doctor or your boyfriend. But I totally identify with what you're saying.
Well, I think the Me Too's a woman thing,
Yeah,
really, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure it's that helpful for a man to presume to know what that's like, to be honest, but anyway.
Of course it is.
Yes.
You know, if men actually listened to what women were saying on harassment, then they'd shut up and listen, but they don't. You know, so we're still seeing the same things time...
I've been sexually harassed.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware.
It's not quite the same thing that women have been through, but it is a bit. Now it's time for Who Does Alan Think Alan Is?
Who do you think you are?
Just to explain, the sense of that line was not properly explained to the voiceover artist before she went into the booth. By the time I found out, she was already in a cab. Complete waste of 30 quid. She sounds like she's been touched on a bus. My main guest today is one of the genealogists from BBC One's Who Do You Think You Are? Please welcome Henry Spring.
Hello. Our journey begins with your great-grandmother, Annie Partridge. Do you remember her?
I do, Granny Annie. She died when I was a toddler. She used to make me chucky egg. Egg and butter chopped up in a bowl. You can add that to your files. Send it to the boys at WDYTYAHQ. Who do you think you are, headquarters?
Well, like many women of her time, she was a stay-at-home mum, wasn't she?
She was unemployed, yes.
But what you might not know is that if we delve one generation further back, we find she had an aunt who lived quite near here, so that would have been your great-great-aunt.
It's fascinating. Please tell me more.
She lived in a semi-detached house in Sheringham at the very end of the 19th century.
That must have been one of the first semi-detached houses in Norfolk.
Not in Norfolk, but it may have been one of the first in Sheringham.
But that's still fascinating. It sends a shiver down your spine.
Do you want me to get you up?
Rest in peace. Great-great-great-aunt. What's her name?
We don't know, we just have the initial E.
Rest in peace. Mrs. E. Was she married?
We don't know that either.
Oh, well, rest in peace, E. Partridge. What was the joke you were going to do?
I was just going to say, shall I go and get you a hot water bottle when you said you had a chiller in your spine?
Oh, yeah. That's good, yeah. I think I was right to stop you, though.
Oh, yeah.
Henry, I'm right, am I not, that my distant relative was involved in perhaps one of the most important pieces of town planning that Norwich has ever seen?
Well, he worked in the Office of Town Planner.
Changing what was Deering Square into what is now Deering Lane.
They effectively made it a thoroughfare, yes.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the number of times I've parked on that road. Never knew. I mean, I know it's loading only, but you park there after 6, they never get you.
Right.
I almost feel like crying.
Certainly made getting into the centre of town that bit more straightforward.
And the rest. If it weren't for Deering Lane, you'd have to come in on the ring road. I mean, it's just amazing that an ancestor man had to wrestle with that awful decision. I mean, on the one hand, the square gave people somewhere to sit, a respite from the frenetic pace of life in Norwich. And yet on the other, I mean, direct access to Hobbs Road must have been like the promised land to civil engineers, cutting journey times from the east half of the city in half. It was caught between a rock and a hard place. It must have been ruddy hard. I sent a shiver down my spine. Another one. That's the second one in half an hour. I almost feel like I should get a hot water bottle to reheat my spine. Now it's time to return to Alan's sad stories. So things were going well between Gareth and I. But that was when our relationship took a twist that neither of us could have predicted. Shit, she writes, because Gareth died. But I married his twin brother, because he had a twin brother. Who was identical. He had eyes like a cow too. So everything was back to normal again. Until one day I discovered Gareth's brother in a compromising position with a box of Quality Street. He'd eaten 3 or 4 in sudden succession and completely ruined his appetite for the chicken dinner I'd so lovingly prepared. I was totally crushed. It was then I realised that Gareth's brother had a chalk problem. Nothing would get in the way of his addiction. The lowest point came when I found him collapsed in a sugar-induced coma in the bogs of Yates's Wine Lodge in Yarmouth. We cried and cried that night. I reiterated my love for him, he reciprocated his love for me, and we shared a chocolatey kiss that will stay with me forever. But it was then that everything changed. Again. Because his weight had ballooned to 20 stone or thereabouts. When he came towards me to hug me, he fell on me and shattered my spine in 3 places. The police didn't believe him, and he was carted off to prison for GBH, or attempted murder, I forget which. I still visit him once a week in prison, and he tells me, Alan, that he tunes into your show, and it offers him great solace, great comfort. Not that the show is aimed at the criminal fraternity in any way. The cons tend to listen to Orbital Digital, as many of them have learning difficulties. I should add, the reason I was able to visit him was because of a pioneering operation which enabled me to walk again, because they replaced my spine with a new one made of carbon fibre, which is actually the material they use in the engine blocks and chassis for Formula One cars. It's actually lighter than aluminium. Yours sincerely, Deirdre. P.S. Unfortunately, I can't remember what our favourite song was. What a sad story. OK, now, please do keep your calls, texts and faxes coming in on today's big question, which is, how often should you wash your towels? Ted in Wisbeck has been in touch. I don't use towels. I use a hairdryer set on cool. It takes a bit longer, but it feels lovely. And I finish off with a little talc for my testes and bum. Lovely stuff. Hilary Couchman, Dr. Hilary Couchman. How long have humans been swearing?
Well, curse words or vulgarities go back really as far as language itself, but when it comes to written English, we find profanities cropping up from the 13th century.
So, something like this. Should I wear gloves to handle
this? The protocol is that the curator handles the material.
Oh, OK, right. I'm pretty sure I've seen Dr. David Starkey handling stuff like this on TV. And I've even seen them let Tony Robinson have a fiddle.
The protocol is the curator handles the material.
You said that. Do they ever let you guys go to an area just to relax? Because they should do. Maybe that should be part of the protocol. Swearing, swear words.
One of the more prominent words is the word f***, but c***, too, is also common across the Germanic and Scandinavian languages. Yeah. We also find uses of piss,
what areas would these profanities emanate from? I'm thinking Manchester, Liverpool.
No, from across the whole country.
OK.
Now, what we have here are parish records from Drayton in Shropshire.
When would that be?
1295.
That's what these trousers cost.
So, what these documents show is how the earliest instances of swear words were typically found in the names of places or people. So, surnames often describe what someone was or did.
Right.
Here we have a listing for Henry F***a-beggar.
Goodness me.
Now, back then, the word f*** didn't have its current meaning. Okay. It actually referred to hitting or striking.
Right, good. Well, hence the phrase, let's hire some Albanians to f*** him up.
So there are terms that have fallen out of use. So here in 17 1840, we have the term Runtalian, which means
musical
one whose
word.
scrotum is so relaxed as to be longer than his penis.
One wonders whether that's due to a truncated member or distended testes.
Well, I guess it's just chicken and egg. We also find some fairly vulgar slang words for penis, such as beard splitter and arse opener, whilst fellatio was known as bagpiping.
Oh, makes sense.
In the 1785 book, the Classical Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue, we find the term to huffle. Would you like to have a guess at what that means?
Oh, gosh, I'll have a bash. To huffle, the act of putting my head between a lady's breasts and huffling. That's, you get the picture?
No, it's another word to fellate.
Right, okay.
I always find it amusing when I ask people that question, what answer I'll get.
Right, well, that's an interesting part of the protocol. Thank you very much, Dr. Hilary Mantell.
Couchman.
One who likes to squat over another...
It's my surname.
Right, yes, of course.